Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is another episode of Talks with Cal. I'm your host, Cal. Today we're going to be talking about, well, I won't even say. I'll just go into it. There was a time in my life where I was raised and profoundly thought that my path was to be a youth minister. I was raised in the church. I was taught and read, the Bible many, many times. I thought that going along this path was going to be the great way to get me going because I had been raised to do it my whole life, basically, and, many more before me had gone from that same church and gone on to be ministers and elsewhere, missionaries, so on and so forth. So I thought, why not that path? I took that path and drove 700 miles across country and went to a school. I won't say where. I found out quickly that it was much harder than I expected. They didn't necessarily have a program set up for youth ministry, so it was more ministry in general, which is actually not terrible. But at the same time, knowing where I wanted to go, I sought out on this journey thinking this is where I was going to be, this is where my success was going to be, and everyone around me was convinced that that's what I was supposed to do as well, right? So, moving forward through the story, I'm sitting in the elder's office. He sets me down and says, it's not going to work. You're not fitting in here. So on and so forth, and basically, long story short, it makes you feel small, and the path that I thought I was supposed to be on had now been crushed because of one man's decision. And it really hurt because the thought is that the church should be inspiring and setting these desires of young men and women to go out and seek out, God, and to find happiness in themselves and create happiness for others through worship, right? But that wasn't the case, and I don't feel like it's the case. You see, that journey was an eye-opener, and it was a long one, because after that happened, I'll admittingly say I went to a very dark place. I did, and I was blaming a lot of people for a lot of things, and it wasn't good and it wasn't healthy, right? The point is that there's going to be rough patches in the path. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be the highs, there's going to be the lows, and it's how you respond to those lows that makes the difference. Set 6 years later, and I'm sitting here in front of this camera doing Talks with Cal. Now, am I doing ministry? By no means, no. But what I am doing is creating a positive outcome and a positive life and a positive, successful life so that others might be inspired and desire to do the same thing, right? Hence the phrase, inspire, desire, and set fire to your own life. Because in doing so, you change your mindset around, you change your attitude around, you change your life around. All these things happen because of one change, right? And it's because I responded to that undesirable change that I didn't really want, but somebody said, this isn't going to work out for you, you need to take a different route. And so I did that. I became a golf instructor, I became a photographer, I became these things, but nothing really worked, right? And it wasn't until later that I realized that you don't really know what you want to do until you know who you are. So that takes some reflection time. And we're not so good about it because we, in this day and age, like to surround ourselves with electronics and things of all kinds of natures, whatever they may be, right? Our vices of sort. So my thought today is why not try turning all those vices off, the computer, the television, the cell phone, the iPad, etc., 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 right? It goes on. The list goes on. There's electronics everywhere. Why not turn those off, go into a quiet place where you know you can be alone for a bit, Whether you're at work, whether you're at home, whether you're in a study somewhere, just take some time and meditate. Completely think of nothing. Because in doing so, I do this as well, because in doing so you realize that you learn more about yourself in the moments of calm than you do in the storm. And I know that's crazy, but you allow yourself to think back on the storm. And that storm was raging and blowing, and things kept coming your way, and it's like it's a never end, right? So by doing that meditation, you're giving yourself time to think of nothing. And it's your own peace, your own calm. And in doing so, you'll find that you get to know yourself better, because you realize all those things that, I could have been mad at those people. I could have been mad at that elder for doing that. But I'm not. Was I for a while? Of course I was. It's human nature to, think, oh, he doesn't know anything. I know everything. I've been raised to do this. I should have been able to do this, right? No, it doesn't really work that way, because if the authority says you're not going to be able to do it and then you get kicked out, that's pretty much that, right? So, take some time to reflect. Sit down, meditate. And this week I'm making this a challenge for myself as well. And not really a challenge, it should become a daily habit that we just sit down and meditate for a while and read a book. Get yourself in a good place, in a place of calm. Because in doing so, you'll realize that you're kind of running on stress, or you're running on emotion, or you're running on something unhealthy in most cases. And that's kind of normal in today's day and age, but it's also disruptive to your own life, right? So sit down, meditate, read a book, get away from the television, get away from everything, because negative's kind of around you and it's just there, right? But we don't have to sit there and listen to it all the time. And that's okay. But remember, how you respond to those negative days is going to make a big difference in who you are and what you say and in your character. So we'll go out there, inspire, desire, and set fire to your own life. Never know. Your spark might set someone else's flame on fire.